The Dallas Stars lay an egg in Game 2 as the Winnipeg Jets shut out the Stars by a final score of 4-0 to even the series before heading to Dallas for Game 3. But more importantly, the Stars must make the necessary adjustments in order to respond, and it may start with Pete DeBoer shuffling the lines up front.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Welcome to the Game 2 reaction episode here on Locked On Stars, where the Dallas Stars fall to the Winnipeg Jets by a final score of 4-0. And now both teams have a victory in this best of 7 series. And we're heading back to Dallas for Game 3 after a disappointing effort from the Dallas Stars here tonight in Game 2. But I'm not overly concerned about Dallas, and I'll tell you why on today's episode. I also think it's time for Pete DeBoer to shuffle the lines up front a bit, and now Dallas has a chance to protect home ice at the American Airlines Center in just a few days. Before we jump into it, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'll start with this. I just chalked this one up to the Dallas Stars laying an egg for whatever reason, and I mentioned this after Game 4 against Colorado. And there was quite a few similarities from Game 4 in Denver to this one tonight, although the Avalanche completely ran the Stars out of the building in that one. That wasn't quite the case here tonight for Dallas, but for whatever reason, over the last 3 years or so, the Stars just absolutely drop a nothing burger in one game each series. It's extremely frustrating. It's infuriating, of course, for us Stars fans, because Dallas had a chance to really put the skate blade on the throat, metaphorically, if they steal both games on the road. But they just could not get out of the starting blocks tonight. And once again, we talked about this after Game 1, the penalties. The penalties finally came back to haunt them. And you can say it's an inadvertent high stick from Tyler Seguin, and I agree to some degree, but also Tyler Seguin isn't moving his feet to try to get to that loose puck. Instead, he's reaching with one hand, and when you try to lift the stick of an opponent or you try to at least swat the puck away, you put yourself in a situation to get your stick into the facial area, facial region of your opponent. And yes, I know he didn't mean to do it, but by him reaching and not just using his feet to try to get to that loose puck, he takes the penalty and Winnipeg cashes in right away. And it felt like it sort of dashed any chance for Dallas in the game. And they weren't out of it by any stretch. I still felt pretty confident after the first period. If Dallas was able to get the next one, they just could not get that next one. And Connor Hellebuyck was really strong in the game as well. When Winnipeg is up, they can just suffocate you. And this is reminiscent of what we saw in the regular season in most of the matchups between these two sides, where Winnipeg just would get off to a quick start. They get up, they get out to a lead, and then boom, they can just really suffocate you. And Dallas just wasn't sharp in the game. They weren't in sync. The amount of errant passes that they made tonight was probably more than we saw in the entire series against Colorado. And I really don't think that's too much of an overreaction. It's a bit hyperbolic, but a lot of errant passes. Rantanen couldn't catch a pass tonight. I thought a lot of different individuals just were fighting it. And you're going to have those nights. It's unfortunate. It came here this evening in Game 2 with a great chance to try to take a 2-0 series lead, but they weren't in sync. They just were out of rhythm. And again, they continued to take really, really unnecessary penalties. And finally a team made them pay for it. It was only once. You still have to give the Stars penalty kill credit for keeping them in the game. They go 4 for 5 on the night. Their power play didn't help them out. They just really never were clicking. They were outshot 25-21. Ironically enough, the first period, this is hilarious. And I had to take like a 3 double checks to make sure this was correct after the first period. At 5-on-5, after the first period, the Stars had 9 scoring chances. 9 scoring chances at 5-on-5. Winnipeg had 0. And the Jets were up 2-0 after the opening 20 minutes, which I found hilarious. And of course, the Ehlers goal was a really fortuitous bounce off the skate blade of Lindell, and it's like, okay, of course, it sort of snow piled from there. But Dallas wasn't very good in the game. Look, they weren't great, and I just chalk it up to it being one of those stinkers. They drop nothing burgers every once in a while, and it happened here tonight. I said it after Game 4, and then we saw what they did to Colorado in Game 5. Now they get to go back home and respond. But don't get it twisted. They were very, very poor, and there wasn't any energy, just really no life, which was frustrating. You know, I do want to point out a couple of positives from a few individuals. Jason Robertson, I thought looked really good tonight. He wasn't quite himself in Game 1, which was to be expected a bit coming off an injury. He looked more like himself tonight. I enjoyed his game. He played heavy and had a couple looks on net. I'm curious to see his shot on goal numbers. Wyatt Johnston, I thought was decent. That line in general, Johnston, Marchment, and Robo had something going early. You couldn't say that for the rest of the trios for the most part, and we'll get to that and why I think it's time for Dallas to kind of shuffle up the lines. And they did do that a bit here tonight. I just don't know if anything was really going to work, and Hellebuck was great too. Credit to him. I mean, he made some incredible saves. The one on Dodonov, I think it was 2-0 at the time. It may have been 3-0, but either way, that could change the complexion of the game. I think Ben got stoned. Like he made a couple big stops. Marchment had a nice look in the second period as well. Harley had 5 shots on goal. Johnston had 3, and Robo had 2. He had that one great chance at the end of the first. That would have been a massive, massive goal if they were able to get one there. But credit to Hellebuck. He came up with some big saves, and he looked more like himself tonight. I think there's a caveat, and maybe this is just me coping, so take this with a grain of salt. But when Winnipeg has a nice, comfortable lead, I just think Hellebuck's going to play a lot more free and looser. I think if Dallas gets one, becomes a bit more anxious, becomes a bit more, I guess, I feel like it changes the vibes in the building. But when he was up 3-0, he just felt like, okay, like we got this to some degree. And look, I mean, Hellebuck could be the Vezina winning trophy goaltender the rest of the series. But that was just sort of my feeling on it, but doesn't take away. He was absolutely phenomenal. Dallas just wasn't good tonight. There was a couple of good individual efforts. I like Johnston. I like Robo tonight. You know, Bishel, Petrovic, they stood out to me. Not a lot of others stood out to me on defense. Bishel throwing some hits. He's tossing guys around. He's getting in the middle of things, in the thick of it. Alex Petrovic with a massive hit on Lowry, just threw him into the bench. Petrovic and Bishel just tossed a few Jets tonight, and I lost it. It's just great to see. They've been such an awesome pairing, and I thought they were excellent tonight. In a contest where there really just wasn't a lot of positives, and it wasn't good all the way around. They weren't cohesive. They weren't playing together. It was just one of those nights. It felt like nothing was going to materialize for them. And I think that was pretty much an emphatic stamp for Hellebuck in that second period, just to be like, it's not your night, guys. I'm going to shut the door. and you're going to have to go back to the drawing board. I thought it was hilarious, and it did kind of irritate me. Look, I'm a bit frustrated. Obviously, I'm not happy with the way Dallas played, but all I could do was laugh when Darren Panger, which he's awesome actually. I really love Panger, but he started to talk about in the third period about, well, Dallas needs to, regroup and, maybe look at what St. Louis did and all this. And I'm just like, okay, not that St. Louis didn't play well against the Jets. They took them to 7 games. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like, well, they lost a series against Winnipeg. So I don't know if Dallas wants to take a lot out of that series. Of course, they can take some parts of it, but let's not get it twisted, Panger. St. Louis's season's over. Dallas needs to stick to what they do. I don't think they need to try to emulate whatever St. Louis was doing, especially without their best player still out of the lineup. Anyways, that was just something that grinded my gears. So that's my soapbox to end this first segment. So let me have it. That's my soapbox. I'll be fine not trying to follow the St. Louis game plan because it got them giving up 2 goals late in regulation and blowing a Game 7 lead. I'd rather not do that, Panger. But other than that, he was fine tonight. Okay, that was just me with the mini rant. But look, I won't be too overly concerned as long as this doesn't spill over. But there are some issues that Dallas is going to need to find answers from. And right now, that's some scoring from up front because there's a lot of guys that are a bit MIA. We'll kind of touch on that and how Pete DeBoer going to have to shuffle up the lines here in Game 3 in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate Pass, and you can get ready to dive into some awesome different features or game titles like EA Sports, College Football 25, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with than allowing you to take on your games wherever you want to plug in. It's a fantastic experience. Plus, you get the entertainment features. You got Netflix. You got all the different streaming services to have a great time, and you get to play some games. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored job post will put your post at the top of the page, help you find the right candidates faster so you don't waste your time looking through 1,000 resumes. They give you the ones that match your job requirements so you can sit back, make sure you pick the right person for the job. Now you can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Well, since I gave Panger some flack here in the first segment, I do have to point out he was absolutely correct on this salient point in the second period. Dallas just had no sustained pressure in the offensive zone. No sort of cycle game or sustained forecheck on Winnipeg's defense. The Jets were just flying out of their zone, no pun intended, just flying out of their zone with ease, without any resistance. And that has to change. And part of that was, look, they didn't have any life. It's time to split up Duchesne, Sagan, and Ben. I mentioned in game 1, I actually kind of liked them together. They ended up with the most scoring chances created 5-on-5, but tonight they just weren't good. And it doesn't also help that Duchesne and Ben, for the most part, they've just been MIA for this postseason so far. Duchesne has 1 assist. Ben has he's got 1 goal right now. Let me confirm it. Duchesne's he's got 4 assists. Pardon me. He's got 4 assists, but there's not a lot of memorable plays out there. He had the nice play on Johnson's Game 7 winner. And Jamie Ben's got a goal and an assist. So those are 2 guys that aren't unlocking each other. So they need to be split back up. I think it's time to put the Duchesne line back together with Seguin and Marchment. They can find it. They can find it. I do like Robo and Johnston together, and I think if you put Ben back on that line, think maybe you can find something there. Just because Robo and Johnston, they got going a bit tonight. I think you can add Ben there and you'll be all right, but allow that really good line for you. And I know they haven't produced a ton. Part of it is like Marchment can't help himself. Like he's taking penalties. He's got to stay out of the box because when he's a really, really good player and can make an impact for Dallas, but he's making a lot of boneheaded mistakes. And he's costing his team a bit. But the Johnston Robo Marchment line, I liked. They ended up with 4 scoring chances at 5-on-5. It's not great by any stretch. But that's why that Pete DeBoer needs to shuffle up the lines. Because, Rantanen, of course, has been phenomenal. And it's so funny because for the first 5 games, we're, moaning about the first 5 games against Colorado. We're moaning about how Dallas isn't getting their big boys scoring. And now it's all the big boys are scoring. And now we're moaning about the depth, right? It's hard to marry it all together. And Rantanen has had an impact on the last 12 goals for Dallas. They need some answers away from him. We know that. But again, so I do point back, like, the Stars had some chances tonight. They outchanced Jets 24-16 at 5-on-5. Their expected goals for were higher. And yeah, it's just numbers. It doesn't tell the whole story, but it's not like Dallas wasn't creating a lot. If you include the power play numbers, Winnipeg heavily favored, but that's what happens when you spot a team 5 power plays in the game, and you're just not going to win that way. Plus, when you're just giving the puck away at free will, and you're struggling to just maintain possession yourself against a team like Winnipeg that is built to just absolutely suffocate you, and that's what they did here tonight. They're like a boa constrictor. They can get up and just squeeze on for dear life and put you out of your misery. But man, Duchesne's got to be better. We're not seeing a lot from him, and this is back-to-back years. And y'all know I came right out of the hop after right to begin the off season last year. I don't think you bring Duchesne back because of his playoff performance. He had the big goal, but outside of that, nothing. And look, they should bring him back. They should have brought him back for his number. He was awesome during the regular season, and we've seen that twice in a row. But now we're getting 2 times in a row. You're not getting enough from him. And he has 3 points, 3 assists in his last 3 games. It's not awful, but we're just not seeing him with the same viscosity that we saw during the regular season, right? Just that same ability to just hold on to pucks and really create offense for himself. How many times we watch him just hold on to the puck, shake a defender away, and get a shot on net. And we're not really getting that. I'm curious to see just his shot on goal numbers amongst the rest of the team. Let's get 11 shots in 8 games. And Granlund can be thrown in there a bit. He's only got 2 points in 8 games. Like they need some of these guys to step up a bit. That's for sure. There's no denying that. But only 11 shots for Duchesne, 10 for Granny. Those are 2 that need to chip in. They need to score some big goals for Dallas. That's for sure. But I don't want to overreact to just a really tough game and a bad one here tonight. But it's twice now in the postseason. You got to take it for something. They've been shut out. What have we talked about quite a bit heading into the postseason and about some of the Stars' struggles when it comes to the playoffs and how they usually get bounced. No scoring. They get quiet offensively all of a sudden, and the special team sort of dries up. And we've seen that a few times already. And hopefully it's just one-off. Hopefully it's just a one-off. That's sort of what I'm chalking it up to. The more concerning part is just the lack of energy. There's just really no life up front. And maybe it was just a flip-flop from what we saw, in game one. Scott O'Neill mentioned it wasn't a playoff game for Winnipeg. And that's how it sort of felt for Dallas tonight. Nobody showed up, and it was like, oh, well, we won game one. We stole home ice, so whatever. And you hate to see it. Don't get me wrong. I think, again, to bring it back to a solution-based equation here, I think you reunite Duchesne with his old line mates. Look, they got a track record. They'll figure it out. I think you leave the Finn line together. They'll be fine. We know what they produce. Robo and Johnston, they've started to find a little chemistry. I think Ben on that line will be okay. To be fair, you could even throw Dodonov up on that trio. And we did see that a bit. Like, Dodonov is a bit of that Swiss Army knife that you can move up and down the lineup if you need a spark. And he did get a few shifts with Johnston and Robo, and you can even put Ben on your fourth line, right? If Ben's not going to produce, then you can put him more in a fourth line role, and he can just kind of go around, throw hits, and play physical. Like that's okay, but they can't be playing him in these spots where they need him to score. Or at least create some chances. I can't really recall a lot of chances that Jamie Benn has got. And he's got 15 shots so far throughout the playoffs. It's top five. It's not terrible by any stretch, but just not a whole lot of substance there. Not a whole lot of substance with that line here tonight. So I'm curious to see what DeBoer does in game 3, or maybe he just sticks with it. I could see him doing it either way. Maybe he doesn't overreact and just like, this is a group we're going to go with, and we'll see. But I could see the Stars shuffling up some things ahead of game 3 as they tried to protect the American Airlines Center come Sunday. So let's look ahead to that. A game 3 matchup on Sunday afternoon. A bit of a different start time, 3:30. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up in those big moments? You can track their trends to help you build that next bet. Plus, $200 in bonus bets. That's going to add to the excitement if your first $5 bet hits. So join FanDuel today. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So Dallas back home for game 3. Here's a bit of a weird nugget, but the Stars are winless when on TNT so far. I saw that. I believe Michael Dixon tweeted that out. The Stars are winless on TNT in game 3s on TNT. So take that for whatever it is. They're undefeated on ESPN. So we'll hopefully that trend doesn't continue as well as Dallas heads back home. 3:30 start time. It's a Sunday afternoon tilt. So those can always be a bit interesting. But look, at the end of the day, we're happy what the Stars did, right? They won a game one finally, and they take home ice away. Doesn't excuse what we saw tonight. Okay, it was awful. It was poor, but not time to jump ship quite yet. Sometimes I feel like in these series, it really doesn't start till game 5. So let's let it play out here, and we can overreact in maybe a few days if Dallas coughs up a few on home ice. But they've been so good on home. We talked about the home and road splits coming in to this series. Like, they've been really good at home. And I just think that the American Airlines Center is going to be buzzing. It's going to be a fantastic atmosphere. And look, maybe Miro's back. I said it a couple times already. I'm not counting on it that much. I think they're going to push him back, and they're going to wait until maybe it's an emergency situation. And even then, they may not want to bring him in. And I'm okay with that. It's obviously really frustrating when you continually hear like, he's close. Well, how close is he? Because Robo was week to week. Miro was like day to day for a week before Robo, I think. And Robo came back. But of course, again, very different stuff. Miro had injuries, so I'm not going to try to compare the two. But let's be honest, the timelines are a bit sneaky. And they're really not what we're hearing. But like, I think, and this is sort of what I brought up during the Colorado series. Dallas is tied at 1 after 2 games, starting the series on the road without their best player. And they got through a team without their best player and their leading goal scorer in round 1. So they're finding ways. They're finding ways to pull it out. And I think they're gonna be able to do that again in game 3. They've been awesome at responding before. And I think they'll be just fine. At least that's my opinion, but they need some others to step up. That's for sure. And like, we see that in every series, some guys go quiet. And then like Rantanen, boom, just like pops off. They're going to need some of that from some others, but a lot of this too, I think, does track back. Dallas has to stay out of the penalty box. It's going to knock them all out of the rhythm. They spent the first 4 minutes on the penalty kill. Rantanen doesn't get in the game. Right. You just like there's some guys that don't get in the game. Granlund, Dutchy doesn't get in the game, besides maybe faceoffs, because you're spending so much time killing. They had to spend 6 minutes killing the first period. So it kind of it causes a riff in how you want to roll your lines. And it just throws everybody out of whack. And I think that just led to the really slow start tonight. And it led to them not being sharp. They were very unvarnished, just not connecting passes. And it sort of, as I mentioned earlier, and I think it's the point, it just stunned them before they even got in the block. They just did not get out of the blocks tonight. And I guarantee you we're going to see a much, much better start in game 3. And I'm looking forward to it. That's for sure. It's going to be a dogfight. We knew that coming in. Like, Winnipeg's not going to go away easily. I think the Jets are sort of a team that aren't a lot of, they're not sexy. But sexy, unsexiness, supposedly. I don't know where I'm going. Well, okay. Unsexiness wins a lot of games this time of year. That's sort of how Winnipeg is. Not a lot of flash. They grind it out. We saw that tonight. Time for Dallas to have a little bit of that in their game. And it'll be interesting. So going to be a fun game 3 on Sunday. So look forward to that. I'll have an episode out after game 3 to kick you off into your new week. Thank you as always for the love and support on each and every episode. By the way, For those of you that do follow along, the Corpus Christi Ice Rays team I work for, unfortunately, were kicked out of the playoffs last night. So they were knocked out of the Robertson Cup, and so the season's done. So I'm going to have time on my hands a little bit more. So I'll be able to get episodes up after each game the rest of the way. Although I wish I was still going to have some clashes. I wanted to see them go far, but they had a great season. So that's a chapter closed here in 24-25. But the Stars chapter continues, and that's what we're here to focus on the rest of the way. So Stars fans, thank you as always. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you're feeling. Am I not being overly concerned enough? Am I coping, as they say? I got told that a lot in Colorado, or in the Colorado series, probably by As fans. So jokes on them. Stars fans, see you tomorrow, or see you Sunday, which I guess is tomorrow. It's late. So long, Stars fans.